Matthew chapter 13, verse 44. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. One of the most important teachings that the Lord Jesus gave to his disciples, and by extension us in the 21st century, is that of the knowledge of the kingdom of heaven. But what is the kingdom of heaven really all about? Well, there's a couple of things that we want to note. First, apart from Christ revealing the truths of the kingdom of heaven, there is no earthly human way for us to have any knowledge of it. And I think the reasons are obvious, but let me just enumerate a few. First of all, the kingdom of heaven is invisible. I mean, none of us has ever seen the kingdom of heaven. Secondly, the kingdom of heaven is holy. I mean, God himself by nature is holy, and all that want to enter into that kingdom must be holy. Third, the kingdom of heaven is something that is beyond human comprehension. I don't mean that we can never understand it. All I'm saying is that it is difficult for us to fully grasp. We can have an idea about it, but not into its fullest extent. And the reason why I say that is because the Lord Jesus needed to use parables for us to understand what the kingdom of heaven was like. I mean, think about it. If you, a parent, were to give information or instruction to a toddler, you would use simple language, wouldn't you? And in the same manner, the Lord Jesus, realizing how limited our understanding of heavenly things are, decides to use parables in such a way that it reveals heavenly truths by using earthly examples. So that's the first thing. The second thing that is important to note is that the kingdom has a king. But we're going to talk a little more on that toward the end of our devotion. So let's ask this question together. What is this parable all about? Well, the parable is speaking specifically on the kingdom of heaven, right? But what about the kingdom of heaven is being expressed in this particular parable? Well, it starts off by saying the kingdom of heaven is like, it's compared to a treasure. When we say the word treasure, the immediate words that come to mind are precious, valuable, important, beautiful. Just a few words that describe this awesome thing that the kingdom of heaven is. So it's like a treasure, and it says there that it is hidden in a field. It means that it is beyond our reach. It is something that is hidden, something that is not immediately visible. I mean, if it were immediately visible, then many others would have found it. But this is where it says, a man found and covered it up. Now, we are not told who this person is, neither are we told how he found it. What we are told today is that it was found. And it's also strange because the next part says that it was covered up. Why would he have to cover up the treasure that he found? Well, the next part of the verse explains. Because it says, then in his joy he goes and sells all he has and buys that field. Now, why would he need to buy the field? And the reason is, as an illustration, if it is inside my home, it belongs to me. Well, by extension, if it's in my field, it belongs to me. And so in order for him to acquire the thing that's important, he decides that he has to buy the field. Now, there's a few things that we want to note that will help us to draw out some really helpful conclusions about this lesson. First is that he needed to buy the field in order for whatever was on the field to be rightfully his. Secondly, notice that he sold everything that he had. Now, when you sell everything in order for you to receive the field, that means that the field is worth everything that you own. But more than that, if I were to invest on something I knew would be important, then I would be willing to give everything I had, but I would expect a lot in return. Finally, it says that he did it with joy. His earthly possessions was not his joy. The field was not his joy. And yet he was willing to buy that field in order for that joy which he had, which was in the treasure to be his. So, what are the conclusions that we can learn from here, specifically in this parable about the kingdom of heaven? First, the kingdom of heaven is a treasure. It's something that's extremely valuable. Secondly, it is hidden. It's something that we cannot immediately grasp. It's something that doesn't rightly belong to us. Third, it is worth more than our earthly possessions. And finally, it is a source of great joy. So how do we apply this in our own lives? Well, we are reminded by the Lord Jesus through this parable that our earthly possessions, and sometimes even the joy that we derive from those earthly possessions, are nothing to be compared with the great glory, the great joy that we can have in the kingdom of heaven. And you remember in the beginning of our talk, we said that the kingdom of heaven has a king. Well, the person who brought the information to us, the person who spoke this parable, is the king. And he is saying that the kingdom of heaven is of great value. But the kingdom of heaven wouldn't be a kingdom if it were not having a king. So the greatest value in heaven, in fact, is the king. And that will be the person by which we will have the greatest joy. And I hope that as we look more into his word, especially in the parables of the Lord Jesus, that we find the greatest joy in him as the greatest and most precious treasure of all.